Alright, gentlemen, when it comes to Orcs Must Die Death Trap, there is basically only one currency in the game, the white skulls, and this is going to do your trap upgrades, your thread upgrades, your skill upgrades, and your class skill upgrades. So it is very important that you are spending these white skulls in the right places at the beginning of the game so that you feel like you are progressing and getting stronger, as you are playing. Because if you're spending them in the wrong spots, you're really going to notice it and you're going to continue to struggle. But with this guide right here, I'm really going to show you where you want to start off at, and then we will get into, the trap upgrades and the thread upgrades. So where we are starting, it is going to be right here with the main skill tree and your class skill tree. Okay, before we get into exactly where you're putting each one of your points here, the first thing you need to know is you need to figure out what character you want to play with the most first and who you want to progress through the bosses with. Just because this skill tree over here to the left does release a lot of power to your class, so you're going to want to figure out who you want to be and then go in here and buy the best class skills for your class. And that's really where you're going to notice your first initial power bump. And then when you're moving into the bigger skill tree, you buy the first node and then the next node is more expensive and so on and so forth. Like my next node right now is 713 skulls and the next one will be like 800 or 900. So that is important to remember. And then also there are two nodes on here that are like extremely powerful that I find to be the best two nodes. And the number one is anti-boss. This is going to deal 50% extra damage to all bosses from your mage. And then the next one would be the utility belt, which gives you an extra slot for a trap. The utility belt is secondary. The boss is going to be needed. I had it by like boss 3. I got anti-boss, and you notice a huge jump in power against the bosses, and they have a lot of hit points. So you really do want to work your way up towards that. So right here, we're going to throw on a screen. You're going to want to follow these green dots first. So them green dots are the initial skills that you're spending. So you're going to work your way up towards the left up there, and then you're going to be in position to pick up anti-boss when you have the skulls to do it. Now, anti-boss is 2,000 skulls. So no matter what, it doesn't fluctuate. That and the loadout one, they don't fluctuate. And then also, there's another one that doesn't fluctuate either. But with the anti-boss, since it doesn't fluctuate, you're going to have to save up 2,000 and buy that. I would say by the third boss, you're going to want to have picked that up. Okay? So after that, then you are going into the like the magenta or the pink, whatever you want to call that. Those are your secondary line that you're following. So after you spend all that green and you pick up that red anti-boss up there, then you're going to want to go move into the pink. Then you follow this pink line, and then after that, you can kind of see the route I took, because I got the loadout now. But, you can go any way after that. But this initial setup right here is going to give you an extreme amount of power and not keep you working towards things that aren't going to help you as much. So like I said, you start with the green dots. So every green dot, until you buy every single green dot and the red dot on the left, you don't buy any of those pink dots. And then when you buy all of the green dots and that red dot, then you start buying all those pink dots, and then you work all the way to the red loadout dot up there. And then the other most important ones on here that you're going to want to work towards, most of them I already have. It's going to be the traps that you see a little coin by, because that is going to give you reduced prices on floor traps, ceiling traps, wall traps, all of them. So you're going to want to pick those up. And then the next most important ones would be the 10% increased damage to the traps as well. And that's just a picture of a trap. So you can kind of see the route I took after you do the green and the red dots and the pink dots. Then you see the route that I decided to take. But it's really up to you after that what you want to do. But, I suggest that you follow my route. I did pick most of the most beneficial things that I seen on the skill tree. So if you follow this, I really do think it is going to help you progress through the bosses, and you're going to notice your class actually getting stronger besides spending them in the wrong places, definitely when you are starting out the game. So after this, then you're going to want to start looking at the like I did fill all this up. Everything that you see filled right now, I filled all this up before I did much of my traps or with any of the threads. I barely bought any threads, and I'll go into the threads and tell you which ones, if you want to buy one, what you're going to look for your class. And then when it comes to the traps, usually you're trying out a lot of traps right now at the beginning of the game because you really want to find out what the best ones are. So only if you are taking a trap every single time, like you've already played like 2 bosses and you had this trap on your loadout, you know, the whole time. Like you know that this trap ain't going nowhere. That is when you would want to start upgrading that specific trap. And then when you just have excess, more skulls, then you can go into other traps and things like that. But following this first part of this guide, it will get you through all the bosses. I went through every boss with this exact setup at this exact level. So, and I did get lucky with the last boss, I'll tell you that though, because I got double barricades, and it was insane because I was able to put when they double, or they, not double barricades, but like double wide, you know what I'm saying? So they make it a double barricade every time you put one down. So, you start with like 20 or 22, so that's equivalent to 44 barricades. So I had an extreme amount of barricades on my final boss run. So, I did luck out in that part, but, this is the exact skill tree I used to beat the boss, and I did beat it with, a melee character, which is a little more difficult, I think, just because of the flying enemies are extremely hard to deal with when it comes to the melee characters right now, but they did make some improvements to that as well. So, I just wanted to get this guide out here while everything was fresh in my mind to really help you guys progress through the game and, feel like you're getting more powerful as you're going through it. So I'm going to have a lot more guides. I'm going to have some tier lists of the traps and of the classes in general. Right now, I played all the classes. For me, Van and Ren seem to be the most powerful classes. And I just really started playing with Max. He does seem really good too. But Ren and Van are extremely good classes for just their abilities are really, really good. So, I haven't got enough time to really, tell you any tier list, but if you do pick 2 classes and you're looking for more of a powerful class, I do think those are some of the 2 best in the game. And then my boy right here, Cal, I thought he was a lot of fun to play, and he was powerful too because he does have some very good perks. And if you're somebody who likes to stay in there and fight and not really worry about your health too much, because once you get like 1 or 2 cards for health on this guy, he's nearly unstoppable. You can really sit in there and fight for a long time. So he is, I enjoyed playing him a lot. Okay, so after you have went through the first part of this guide, you spent a majority of your skulls in your skill tree and your class skills. You are going to come over here to your trap upgrades, and you're going to hit up the traps that you are putting on your loadouts every single time. Most people have at least like 2 or 3 traps that no matter what they're taking, and then they're kind of like switching the other ones out to test out other traps. So those first 3 traps, your most important ones, those are what you're going to work up first. And just how I did it personally is I think I did damage in my 3 traps that I like the most. I did damage first, and then, like when it came to this crossbow right here, after that I did the range, and then I did reset time last. So, that's really up to you how you want to work it in. This is working the same way as the skill tree. Every time you buy 1 star in here, the next star is going to be more expensive. So they do get a little pricey when you're trying to max out the traps as well. So that's why I'm saying this is something that you're doing after your skill tree is looking good. It's, we talked about where it should be at, and then you're going to come over here to the traps. The only time you're going to come over here before that is if you have a trap that 100% you're going to take, and you're only going to work up the damage on 1 trap early. That's what I did. And then I did everything else like I showed you before that. So only thing I worked up early was this right here, the auto crossbow, because it is extremely important for melee characters to take this weapon right here, because it has extremely good range. It hits flyers, it hits a lot of things. So it is very, very helpful, and it has a very, very fast reset time. Even the reset time before these upgrades was very fast. This only took like a half a second or a second off. So it still had like a 4-second reset time just base. So this is a very good weapon for melee characters for sure, but that is basically how you're going to do it. Hit your first 3 traps that you're going to have on your loadout, spend it in the damage first, that's what I did, and then kind of work through all the other stars in those traps, and then you can really start exploring after that. So now we'll talk about some of the threads and when you're going to really want to start going into those. Okay, so this is like the 3rd place that you're going to be spending your skulls. So this is after the first part of the video where you already worked up your class and your class skills and all of that type of stuff. You went into some of your traps, you increased what traps you thought were most important to you, like 2 or 3 of them, and then you can come over here to the threads, and you could either if your trap has an extremely good one in here, you're definitely going to want to pick that up. But then most importantly, look at your class perk in here. It's kind of expensive. Some of them are. Well, hers isn't too expensive. This one's only 100. But you know, look at your class perks that are in here, because these will be some pretty good threads for the class that you are running. So like this one I didn't even pick up, and this is a very good one. I'm actually going to buy this one right now. That's really good. So you're going to want to go through here and then find the ones that complement your class the best, and then find the ones that complement those two or three traps that we talked about the best, you know? And then, you know, really after that, you're really on your own. You're hitting up traps. You're finding out which ones you personally like the best, and then you're going in here and you're buying threads for them and just trying to increase your power as much as you can after that. You know, I wouldn't really go too crazy with the traps and the threads until you work your way, because I am now, after I did 3 traps maxed, and then I bought some threads, and now I'm going back to my skill tree and completely, you know, 100%ing that until I buy any more traps and threads. But that is just personally how I'm going to do it. So, you know, after this, though, I think you have enough power in the game to do a lot of the stuff. And then you can just start complementing your traps, work on your skill tree, and really go from there however you see fit. When I get like 100%, I'll come back and explain how I went through the rest of my progression through the game, just so you guys can have an idea. And if you want to follow it, you can. But, you know, for this one, I'm having a ton of fun with Orcs Must Die. I do think they did a good job. I know some people are opposed to this thread system, but the reason I like it more is, yes, it is more unpredictable, as in, I did like in Orcs Must Die, like 3, you can specifically put certain things on your traps and they're going to work and you know you're going to have them. But in this way of the game with the threads, you can become completely overpowered in ways that they couldn't make the game work that way, because you would be too strong like all the time. But now, like sometimes you can just be so overpowered that it's insane, because you just hit a crazy thread of nothing but awesome perks and, you know, skills and stuff. So that's why I do think this thread system is better. Like, it can be detrimental, you know, as well, because you're just not going to get as many good threads as you normally would, and it's going to feel a lot tougher. But then those times when you get it and you can just completely be overpowered and just wipe out everything on the map, you know, that feels really good. So that's why I do think that I like the thread system better than the old system, because of the variety and the power experience that you do at least get the experience that you honestly couldn't even experience in the other games, because the game would have been broken, you know? So this way works out really well for me, guys, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I will be back with a lot more guides here to come. So thanks for checking out the video, and I will catch you on the next one.